So this might be a bit of a specific reference. I don't even know if these things were available to kids outside of like early 2000s Southern English secondary schools, but do you remember these block things? Google says they're called math cubes, but these little blocks like snap together like Lego, but softer, and allows you to build 3D shapes by connecting loads of them together. Presumably to teach you about mathematics, but largely just allowing little boys to make rudimentary guns and pretend to shoot each other, because it's what we were doing when we were 10 years old. In all honesty, I didn't think I'd ever see these lovely little cubes again in adult life until we saw a giant box of plastic spaceship bits beckoning us in at PAX Unplugged. Not just the familiar interlocking cubes, but also wings and turrets, laser blasters and rocket launchers. You combine those bits together and you get something that looks like this. This is Snapship Tactics, part children's toy, part tactical dogfighting wargame, and it's bloody brilliant. This is a game very obviously inspired by space dogfighting games like Star Wars X-Wing, in which two or more competitors race and pivot around one another in a small-scale aerial duel with just a handful of fighter ships on each side. You'll be rolling dice, using movement templates to ping around the board, and crashing into one another both on purpose and completely by accident because you hit way too high of a speed and now you can't stop yourself from barreling into the nearest hull. Whoops! If you've played an X-Wing style game before, there's nothing that happens on the table itself which is going to blow you away about this game. There's a fun heat management system with which you'll need to manage your weapons and systems to keep them usable before they overbake and start failing. You'll have to vent at crucial moments and hold back on firing until the perfect shot is available to stop yourself from becoming a sitting duck out in the dark of space. There's a cool alternate firing mode that uses rockets which track your opponents, sticking with them until they hit, and giving you this fun cat and mouse mechanic as you try and shake your chasers with flares and maneuvers before they collide with your ship. In general, it's a really fun dogfighting miniatures game with plenty of scalability for multiple players per team, of multiple ships per player, and all sorts of interesting systems to play around with and exploit to win out in fights with your opponent. But the real fun of Snapship Tactics, say that 10 times twice, is of course snapping the ships. And I don't mean like in half, although you can do that if you want to. I mean together. Because as is probably obvious, these ships don't come pre-built, and the instructions they give you to build them do not have to be followed. This is a game that's all about customization in a way that other miniatures games just aren't able to be. It's like built-in kit bashing. When you select a ship you want to build from one of the two factions, the generic good guys of the Forge or the generic bad guys of the Complex, you grab a chassis card and it will give you some basic stats. It'll even, if you want, recommend some bits to put on that ship on the backside of the card. But what it won't do is tell you exactly what must be on the ship, because these ships aren't predetermined but merely templates for you to build around. Customization is the name of the game for Snapships. Each chassis card has a set of part types that they include, like thrusters, a cockpit, wings, and then a number of slots for systems, which are essentially your weapons and abilities. Missile launchers, exhausts, fins for maneuvering, that sort of thing. You can freely select from that faction's part types and mix and match bits from various kits that you've collected to build your perfect fighter, bomber, or recon ship. The same chassis card could be built in a myriad of different ways when given to different builders. You might load it up with weapons galore or make it the most streamlined, speedy fighter in the galaxy. Maybe it's covered in defensive tech to be as survivable as possible, or you've just covered it in spiky bits so you can ram into other ships until they smash into tiny pieces. But of course, the central gimmick of Snapship's Tactics, and the reason it's just so freaking cool, is of course the Lego-like building blocks that you construct your ships out of. And Lego is a pretty perfect analogy because the blocks that you receive in your little ship pack represent both the predetermined builds that the instructions will have you create, and also all the weird creations that you yourself can imagine by placing all those pieces however you like. A chassis card will simply tell you how many of these square blocks your ship is made out of, determining its size, but how you slot them together, and of course which parts you place on them and where they go, is entirely up to you. Here's the same Wasp Claw Deep Recon ship built with the exact same parts in multiple ways. Just by placing things in a different way, I can get loads of different visual profiles for the exact same statted ship. This is of course all just aesthetics, but the lovely thing about the way Snapships are provided in the box solves a problem that I've had with X-Wing the biggest space dogfighting miniatures game on the market right now. When you buy an X-Wing ship or squadron, they come in the box completely pre-painted and ready to play, which is amazing and a really good incentive for players who just want to start playing immediately rather than going through the whole process of gluing together plastic and painting it up before they can get stuff on the table. This is a viewpoint that I am becoming more and more sympathetic to with each year added onto my life, and increasing responsibilities and the general business of life just giving me way less time to dedicate to painting miniatures. The opposite of this might be something like Warhammer, where everything requires construction before you can even think of playing with them. They need clippers and glue and instructions and a buttload of patience to even get them to a state where they're recognizable as a model. But the benefit of that is your ability to customize visually, to put your own spin on the model that you bought, from the weapon the soldier is carrying to the paint scheme that they're adorned in. Snapships finds a really elegant middle ground between these two camps, providing a building process that's rapid enough to be done quickly before the game starts to get straight into playing, and with pre-painted part that means your ships are already looking good by the time they play their first game, but also is fully customizable for each player to be able to put their own visual spin on how these ships look, even to a point that's beyond what is possible with a regular Warhammer model. It's like kit bashing as standard. There's nothing stopping you from painting over the provided color schemes as well if you want to add your own livery to the blocks. What it somehow manages to annihilate both competitors' philosophies in, though, is its ability to construct non-deconstructively. Sorry, I'm using editor terms here, but what I mean by that is you can put together a Warhammer model however you like, with whatever weird kit bashing and merging of pieces you like, but to do so, you need to glue that sucker together forever. You physically melt and bond the plastic together to keep its shape permanently. Sure, you can magnetize bits to make them swappable, but you can't do that with every little seam in the plastic. That's nuts. That is a destructive edit. When you put together a Snapships model with the little snap together blocks, you can pull every single one of those blocks back apart without breaking anything, without ruining the paint on them. They just go back into their original parts whenever you want. If I build a ship and I don't like how it looks or plays, I can literally just start again from scratch as many times as I like. They even provide a little tool in the starter box that makes it easier to separate the blocks. These things are infinitely rebuildable and customizable. I can combine parts from any kit that will ever get made and they will all fit together. I can imagine my own chassis and just make them without a single craft knife or packet of green stuff in sight. It's complete freedom and it kicks ass. And all this is way quicker than any model I've ever built. Even a Lego ship of the same size would take way more time than this. And I know I'm focusing on the fun of building these things way more than like the game itself. The game is really fun though. It's got a lot of X-Wing's DNA with some fun additions and some shrewd edits. Moving ships around is really fluid and easy, and the template bases work really well with all the distances and rotations possible, only needing a single ruler to pull off. There's also a nice variety of game modes included in the starter set, even including a fully functioning solo mode where cardboard AI can pilot your enemy ships and you can have dogfights on your lonesome to get a little solo play in, or just to try out new ship configurations to see how they perform. That solo AI can then also be used to play co-op games with friends against an enemy force that pilots itself, or even a horde mode that's included in the book with multiple waves of fighters that you and some friends can try to survive against. Not to mention that this obviously is just like a toy. If you have kids, they will love this thing. It's built for them to play with and reminds me of when I used to mash all my Bionicles together with my friends at sleepovers to build like a giant mech. There's even an animated series on YouTube for your kids to get invested in, the like kids TV lore that surrounds all the ships and their pilots. It's lovely, it's wonderfully charming, massively recommend giving it a go. It might not be the tactical masterclass that X-Wing offers, and I'm sure there are plenty more indie dogfighting games that offer amazing gameplay, but I can guarantee you that no other game in the genre is going to be quite this whimsical and childlike in the fun its playtime will provide you. So there you have it, Snapships Tactics. Play the heck out of this thing. I'm already setting up some more games with Maddie so that we can build our silly ships and smash them into each other. A little note for those looking to purchase, by the way, from what I can tell, there's two types of product for Snapships. If they have the word tactics on them, then they are already functioning game pieces. If they don't, then they're toys that can be turned into game pieces, but you need to buy some little stands and cards to make them function. So be careful when purchasing. We should have Amazon affiliate links in the description below if you want to help the channel and grab your own copy. But most importantly, just thank you so much for watching, and please do make sure to subscribe to Dicebreaker on YouTube.com, because it massively helps us reach new people and keep the lights on. We've got even more stuff for you on the channel already and coming up, so make sure to hit the bell icon to get notified whenever we put a new video live. And visit us over on Dicebreaker.com for an absolute plethora of written content on all your favourite tabletop games and beyond. I've been Wheels, and please do have a lovely day.